Chapter 3. Phaeton. And Lou, of course, is Rose Kelly. So, yeah. I mean, Rose Crowley. Lou clung to me as I gripped the wheel. There was no need for us to speak. The trembling torrent of our passions swept us away. I'd forgotten all about Lammas and his car. We were driving like the devil to nowhere. A mad thought crossed my mind. It was thrown up by my unconscious, by the essential self of my being. Then, some familiar object in the streets reminded me that I was not driving back to the studio. Some force in myself, of which I was not aware, had turned my face towards Kent. I was interrupting myself to myself. I knew what I was going to do. We were bound for Barley Grange, and then, oh, the wild moonlight ride to Paris. The idea had been determined in me without any intervention of my own. It had been, in a way, the solution of an equation of which the terms were, firstly, a sort of mad identification of Lou with one's romantic ideas of moonlight, then my physical habit as a flying man, and thirdly, the traditional connection of Paris with extravagant gaiety and luxuriant love. I was quite aware at the time that my moral sense and my mental sense had been thrown overboard for the moment, but my attitude was simply, "Goodbye, Jonah." For the first time in my life, I was being absolutely myself, freed from all the inhibitions of body, intellect, and training, which keep us, normally, in what we call sane courses of action. I seem to remember asking myself if I was insane and answering, "Of course I am. Sanity is a compromise. Sanity is the thing that keeps one back." It would be quite useless to attempt to describe the drive to Barley Grange. It lasted barely half a season. It lasted ages ons. Any doubts that I might have had about myself were stamped underfoot by the undeniable facts. I had never driven better in my life. I got out the seaplane as another man might get out a cigarette from his case. She started like an eagle. With the whir of the engine came Lou's soft, smooth voice in exquisite antiphony. "O thou trembling breast of the night, that gleamest with a rosary of moons, I adore thee, oh, I adore thee, E-ow." We soared towards the dawn. I went straight over 3,000. I could hear the beat of my heart. It was one with the beat of the engine. I took the pure, unsullied air into my lungs. It was an octave to cocaine, the same invigorating spiritual force, expressed in other terms. The magnificently melodious words, "A Siev, a king," sprang into my mind. I repeated them rapturously. It is the beat of the British engine. Deep lungfuls, deep mouthfuls, deep, deep mental mouthfuls. The wind of our speed abolished all my familiar bodily sensations. The cocaine combined with it to anesthetize them. I was disembodied, an eternal spirit, a thing supreme apart. Lou, sweetheart, Lou, sweetheart, Lou, Lou, perfect sweetheart. I must have shouted the refrain. Even amid the roar, I heard her singing back, "O thou supreme softness of lips, that glow hot with the scarlet of passion, I adore thee, though I adore thee. E-ow." I could not bear the weight of the air. Let us soar higher, ever higher. I increase the speed. Fierce frenzy, fierce folly, fierce, fierce, frenzied folly. O thou tortured shriek of the storm, that art whirled up through the leaves of the woods, I adore thee, though I adore thee. E-ow! And I felt that we were borne on some tremendous tempest. The earth dropped from beneath us like a stone into blind nothingness. We were free, free forever from the fetters of our birth. Soar swifter, soar swifter, soar, soar swifter, swifter. Before us, high in the pale gray, stood Jupiter, a 4-square sapphire spark. O thou bright star of the morning, that art set betwixt the breasts of night, I adore thee, though I adore thee. E-ow! I shouted back. Star seekers, star finders, twin stars, silver shining. Up, still up, I drove. There hung a mass of thundercloud between me and the dawn. How dared it? It had no business to be there. I must rise over it, trample it under my feet. O thou purple breast of the storm, that art scarred by the teeth of the lightning, I adore thee, though I adore thee. E-ow! Frail waifs of mist beset us. I had understood Lou's joy in the cloud. It was I that was wrong. I had not had enough cocaine to be able to accept everything as infinite ecstasy. Her love carried me out of myself, up to her tranquil passion. I understood the mist. O thou unvintageable dew, that art moist on the lips of the morn, I adore thee, though I adore thee. E-ow! At that moment, the practical part of me asserted itself with startling suddenness. I saw the dim line of the coast. I knew the line as I know the palm of my hand. I was a little out of the shortest line for Paris. I swerved slightly to the south. Below, gray seas were tumbling. It seemed to me, insanely enough, that their moving wrinkles were the laughter of a very old man. I had a sudden intuition that something was wrong, and an instant later came an unmistakable indication of the trouble. I was out of gas. My mind shot back with a vivid flash of hatred toward King Lammas. A case of indiscretion. He'd as good as called me a fool to my face. I thought of him as the sea shaking with derisive laughter. All the time I had been chuckling over my dear old squad commander. Not a great flyer, am I? This will show him. And that was true enough. I was incomparably better than I had ever been before, and yet I had omitted just one obvious precaution. I suddenly realized that things might be exceedingly nasty. The only thing to be done was to shut off and volplane down to the straits, and there were points in the problem which appalled me. Oh, for another sniff. As we swooped down towards the sea, in huge wide spirals, I managed to extract my bottle. Of course, I realized instantly the impossibility of taking it by the nose in such a wind. I pulled out the cork and thrust my tongue into the neck of the bottle. We were still 3,000 feet or more above the sea. I had plenty of time, infinite time, I thought, as the drug took hold, to make my decision. I acted with superb aplomb. I touched the sea within 100 yards of a fishing smack that had just put out from Deal. We were picked up, as a matter of course, within a couple minutes. They put back and towed the plane ashore. My first thought was to get more gas and go on, despite the absurdity of our position. But the sympathy of the men on the beach was mixed with a good deal of hearty chaff. Dripping in evening dress at 4 o'clock in the morning, like Hedda Gabler. One doesn't do these things. But the cocaine helped me again. Why the devil should I care what anybody thought? Where can I get gas? I said to the captain of the smack. Different smack than he'll get into later, right? He smiled grimly. She'll want a little more than gas. I glanced at the plane. The man was perfectly right. A week's repairs at the least. You better go to the hotel, sir, and get some warm clothes. Look how the lady's shivering. It was perfectly true. There was nothing else to be done. We went together slowly up the beach. There was no question of sleeping, of course. Both of us were as fresh as paint. What we needed was hot food, and lots of it. We got it. It seemed as if we had entered upon an entirely new phase. The disaster had purged us of that orchestral oratorio business, but, on the other hand, we were still full of intense practical activity. We ate 3 breakfasts each, and as we ate, we talked racy, violent nonsense, most of it. Yet we were both well aware that the whole thing was camouflage. What we had to do was to get married as quickly as we could and lay in a stock of cocaine and go away and have a perfectly glorious time forever and ever. We sent for emergency clothes in the town and went stalking a parson. He was an old man who had lived for years out of the world. He saw nothing particularly wrong with us except youth and enthusiasm, and he was very scary. He was very sorry that it would take 3 weeks to turn us off. The good old boy explained the law. Oh, that's easy, we said in a breath. Let's get the first train to London. There are no incidents to record. We were both completely anesthetized. Nothing bothered us. We didn't mind the waiting on the platforms or the way the old train lumbered up to London. Everything was part of the plan. Everything was perfect pleasure. We were living above ourselves, living at a tremendous pace. The speed of the plane became merely a symbol, a physical projection of our spiritual sublimity. The next 2 days passed like pantomime. We were married in a dirty little office by a dirty little man. We took back his car to Lammas. I was amused to discover that I had left it standing in the open half over the edge of the lake. I made a million arrangements in a kind of whirling wisdom. Before 48 hours had passed, we were packed and off for Paris. I did not remember anything in detail. All events were so many base metals fused into an alloy whose name was excitement. During the whole time We only slept once, and then we slept well, and woke fresh, without one trace of fatigue. We had called on Gretel, and obtained a supply of cocaine. She wouldn't accept any money from her dear Sir Peter, and was so happy to see Lady Pendragon, and wouldn't we come and see her after the honeymoon? That call is the one thing that sticks in my mind. I suppose I realized, obscurely somehow, that the woman was, in reality, the mainspring of the whole maneuver. She introduced us to her husband, a heavy, pursy old man, with a paunch and a beard, and a reputation for righteousness, and an unctuous way of saying the right kind of nothing. But I divined a certain shrewdness in his eyes. It belied his mask of ostentatious innocence. It belied. There was another man there too, a kind of half-baked, nonconformist person, one Jabez Platt, who had realized early in life that his mission was to go about doing good. Some people said that he had done a great deal of good to himself. His principle in politics was a very simple one. If you see anything, stop it. Everything that is wrong. The world is a very wicked place. He was very enthusiastic about putting through a law for suppressing the evil of drugs. We smiled our sympathetic assent, with sly glances at our hostess. If the old fool had only known that we were full of cocaine, as we sat and applauded his pompous platitudes. We laughed our hearts out over the silly incident as we sat in the train. It doesn't appear particularly comic in perspective, but it's very hard to tell at any time what is going to tickle one's sense of humor. Probably anything else would have done just as well. We were on the rising curve. The exaltation of love was combined with that of cocaine, and the romance and adventure of our lives formed an exhilarating setting for those superb jewels. Every day, in every way, I get better and better. Mr. Q's now famous formula is the precise intellectual expression of the curve of the cocaine honeymoon. Normal life is like an airplane before she rises. There is a series of little bumps. All one can say is that one is getting along more or less. Then she begins to rise clear of earth. There are no more obstacles to the flight, but there are still mental obstacles, a fence, a row of houses, a grove of elms, or what not. One is a little anxious to realize that they have to be cleared, but as she soars into the boundless blue, there comes that sense of mental exhilaration that goes with boundless freedom. Our grandfathers must have known something about this feeling by living in England before the liberty of the country was destroyed by legislation, or rather the delegation of legislation to petty officialdom. About 6 months ago, I imparted some tobacco rolls, a black perique, the best and purest in the world. By and by, I got tired of cutting it up, and sent it to a tobacconist for the purpose. Oh dear no, quite impossible, without a permit from the custom house. I suppose I really ought to give myself up to the police. Yes, as one gets into the full swing of cocaine, one loses all consciousness of the bumpy character of this funny, old, oblate spheroid. One is really very much more competent to deal with the affairs of life, that is, in a certain sense of the word. Mr. Q is perfectly right, just as the Christian Scientists and all those people are perfectly right in saying that half our troubles come from our consciousness of their existence, so that if we forget their existence, they actually cease to exist. Haven't we got an old proverb to the effect that what the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over? When one is on one's cocaine honeymoon, one is really, to a certain extent, superior to one's fellows. One attacks every problem with perfect confidence. It is a combination of what the French call élan and what they call insouciance. The British Empire is due to this spirit. Our young men went out to India and all sorts of places and walked over everybody because they were too ignorant to realize the difficulties in their way. They were taught that if one had good blood in one's veins and a public school and university training to habituate one to being a lord of creation and to the feeling that it was impossible to fail, and not knowing enough to know when one was beaten, nothing could ever go wrong. We are losing the empire because we have become sicklied over with the pale cast of thought. The intellectuals have made us like the poor cat. The adage, the spirit of Hamlet, has replaced that of Macbeth. Macbeth only went wrong because the heart was taken out of him by Macduff's interpretation of what the witches had said. Coriolanus only failed when he stopped to think. As the poet says, the love of knowledge is the hate of life. Cocaine removes all hesitation, but our forefathers owed their freedom of spirit to the real liberty which they had won, and cocaine is merely Dutch courage. However, while it lasts, it is all right. And as one may know, after paradise, you kind of end up in hell and purgatory and all that. So it's not a nice story clear through. And hold on a second. So I am open for comments and questions in between things here. And I show some distinction with this. Friday, April 17th, 2009, I watched The Horizon of the Sea, Sleep Sea on Thagani 34. I don't know which surah because obviously things are broken into tracks here. Listen to Faham Quran Dua 17 and 18. Supplication each time with the 30 paras, but a spice scent offering representing invocation, 2:23 to 3:12 p.m. The 7th Enochian author, of the 19th key. Saturday 18th, I watched the 7 Deadly Sins, gluttony, the Hizbul Bahar, Miracles of Jesus, the Bible's Greatest Secrets, Christmas Unwrapped, The History of Christmas, The Haunted History of Halloween, Amber Scent Offering, Peace of Mind, the 19th Enochian Key, Author 6, meditated with that one today, too. 6:57 to 7:07 p.m., I listened to Faham Quran, Dua, and Para 19 and 20. Sunday the 19th, Sleep Sea on Al-Thaqani 8. Islamic Point of View, Omar Shabazz, The Sure Truth. That was the speaker. Pathways is the program that's after that, or at least it was. Faham Quran Dua and Para 21 and 22. The 19th Enochian Key, Author 6 again, 1:41 to 1:56 p.m., 2:21 to 2:36 p.m., 4:17 to 4:26 p.m., Amber Scent Offering, Purity of Mind. I watched the Hizbul Bahar of Abul Hassan Ashaduli, Monday the 20th, Sleep Sea on Al-Ghani 23, and watched that program again. The Arabic recitation with English explanation. I listened to Bahamgran, Dua, and Para 23 and 24. Enochian Key 19, Author 7, 3:31 to 4:07 p.m. 4:08 to 4:22 p.m. Amber Burnt Offering, representing purity of mind, 5:47 to 6:04 p.m. The 8th Author, 6:39 to 6:50 p.m., 7:11 to 7:26. Tuesday the 21st, I watched Hizbul Bahar, read by Sheikh Nuruddin Durki, read Gitanjali by Rabindranath Tagore, with an introduction by W.B. Yeats, Rabindranath Tagore and W.B. Yeats. I listened to Fahim Quran, Dua, Para 25 and 26. The 19th Enochian Key, the 9th Author, 12 to 2:03 p.m. Wednesday, the 22nd, Sleep Seed on Al-Baghani, 42. The 11th Enochian Author, 4:09 to 4:21, 6 to 6:11 p.m. Amber Scent Offering, representing peace of mind. I listened to Fahim Quran Dua and Par 27 and 28. I watched the Hizbul Bahar, Habib Laman production, Tuesday the 23rd, Bikdal Quran Surah 29 and 30, Sleep Seed on Abdul Ghani 71. And the Hizbul Bahar is a www.greenmountainschool.com production. Nuruddin Durki's a more difficult individual since he took over for Sidi Muhammad, but after Sidi died, but there's Spice Offering, representing exorcism. The 19th Enochian Key, Author 15, 2:40 to 3:36 p.m. The 16th Author, 6:36 to 7 p.m. Friday the 24th. A Spice Scent Offering, representing attraction, 3:03 to 3:04 p.m. Scene is 18th Enochian Author. I listened to Abdabari, Surah 1 and 2. I watched the Hizbul Bahar, Arise in the Sea. Had a discussion with Sarah. I know her last name, but I'm going to leave that out. Saturday the 25th, 3 and 4. Confederates of the Ocean, Unlocking the Great Pyramids. Went to a lecture at Masjid An-Nur. Gender Equality in Islam. Sunday the 26th, Sunday Stories of the Companions. Or is it Sundry? And the something of the breath. I listened to Abdabari, Surah 5 and 6. I watched Allies of the Sea. The 19th, Purity of Mind, Monday the 27th. The 2nd Enochian Key, 3 to 3:05 and 3:40 to 3:48 p.m., 4:21 to 4:31 p.m., 7:18 to 7:33. Sleep Seed on Al-Baghani, 28. I listened to the Bari, Surah 7 and 8. I watched the Confederates of the Sea. And, okay, there's an experience that I'm sharing here.
and I can't quite read that. People and
turned into an eagle. The little eagle exploded into powder, and the powder rained down. The stone remained gathered in a psychedelic glow, and the eagle, as smaller than the smaller than several inches long stone, but the bear was twice as big. The pulsing feeling mass.
And okay, oh, that's particularly eerie. It's something. Oh, a bear jumped out of the stand. Alabaster. Oh, it's that alabaster stone over there.
I had completely forgot about an experience like this with that stone. Tuesday, April 28th, Sleep Sea on Abdulghani 98. I read the Living Talmud, the wisdom of the fathers and its classical commentaries, selected and life and thought. A Mentor religious classic, page 1 to 76. I listened to Abdulghani, Surah 10 and 9. I watched Allies of the Ocean, the third Enochian key, 3 to 3:37 p.m. and 5:45 to 6 p.m. I beheld a curious face upon the zebra's stone. It was like a cartoon dog, mixed with a rabbit without ears, like either. Its face bore ears of a cat. The ears were those of a tiger. My eyes became warm with tears, staring at the marvelous patterns surrounding the stone. I closed my eyes and beheld a checkered floor betwixt walls, like unto a castle. In the orange, a curious floater was a round table. Wednesday, the 29th, sleeps thee on Abdulghani 4. I listened to Abdul-Bari, Surah 11 through 13. I read the Talmud, the New American Library, 152. I watched the Hizbullah Bahar, an orange scent offering representing prosperity, 3:03 to 3:53 p.m. The 21st author, all the Enochian authors are in the 19th key, or with the 19th key, by the way. 4:04 to 4:14 p.m. Tuesday the 30th, Sleep Sea on Abdulghani 18, citrus or orange scent offering representing money. I listened to Abdul-Bari, Surah 14 through 16. Fifth Enochian key, 7:43 to 7:49 p.m. And if you see there, those wavy lines with the dot in between, that's going to indicate I want to say like, but Weiss, Theiss, I don't know. Yesterday's 50 meditation. That's the emitter in patterns, hard to define. I like my writing there. Today's 6-minute meditation placed me in the box of rainbows. Beside it was done, and beside it was dark. I watched the Hizbullah Bahar of Abul Hassan Ashtuli, Friday, May 1st of 2009. I read by Sheikh Nurdin Durki. I watched L. Ron Hubbard's An Introduction to Scientology. I listened to Abdul-Bari, Surah 17 to 19, 3:36, 4:25 p.m. The 6th Enochian key. I read the Living Talmud to page 181. Look at May the 2nd. Sleep Sea on Abdulghani 8. And my phone is heating up, so I don't see any questions, so I'm